Welcome everybody back to Gringos Liberados. My name is Trajan, joined by 404 and RMC for this episode. And it's the classic. It's time for the special, the pre-playoffs episode. You guys know it, you love it, we love it. And we know that you guys love to hate on it. So we'll recap the last week and we're going to get into a tier list of the players. We'll bring back the awards as well. For those avid viewers, we did a mid-season version and we'll bring that back in. We'll finalize our awards for the year before we kick off the playoffs, before we decide who's going to, quote-unquote, totally beat Loud this year, you know? So, you know, it's going to happen, guys. This century, maybe. Yeah. Right. This last week, we finalized playoffs. It was a little scuffed. It was a little tricky, but it wasn't as tricky as it could have been. We only had two tiebreaker matches to play. A little mini gauntlet here. Furia, Fluxo, KaBuM went at it for that last spot, or the last two spots, I should say. And we ended up with Fluxo Furia slipping in 5th and 6th.
Yeah.
So, I mean, how do we feel about KaBuM's failure to eventually get over the line? Because we'd like started when half of us, think 404 maybe, and me, we had like, I don't know if RMC, maybe you as well, had like Furia not even making playoffs in like the preseason checks that we had. And we were like, this was a great prediction, guys. And then mid-season, we were like, oh, hang on, maybe. And then we've just wound up back here and they did make playoffs. So after all of that, we're still here.
Yep. KaBuM deserves it. They could have gone in. They lost to the worst team in the league. Yeah, that's on them.
Yeah. They could have just tried versus lost. They could have just tried. Could have just drafted like humans. And nah, it was too much for them that day.
Yep.
And here we are.
Yep. Yeah, I mean that was it. And then they would have locked 5th because they were 0-2 against Loud because they would have tied with them at 10 wins. But yeah. I mean, you would have locked 5th and then forced Fluxo and Furia to play a tiebreaker, and justice would have been served if, like RMC said, you showed up and did your job. Yeah. If we want to talk macro sense, I think it is really hard not to call this split a failure. This year a failure because again, like RMC and I were kind of talking. I forget if it was on the podcast or on an Academy Co stream. We were kind of talking about like, okay, if you're looking ahead to like, okay, who's going to be the 6 teams in franchising? Like, okay, KaBuM and INTZ are kind of like these borderline teams because KaBuM doesn't have a big fan base, but they have an astronomical amount of cash, apparently.
Yeah.
And INTZ has a huge fan base and no money. They have no front of shirt sponsor. Their front of shirt sponsor is themselves. Think about that for a second. And so people were proposing, what if we merge the two, right? We merge the two teams because, again, one has money, the other one has fans. Perfect. You get each other's weaknesses. Yeah, this was an abject failure by KaBuM. You brought in Malrang. It was a disaster. And just like, it's unfortunate because with how many times this has happened, like you think of the trick situation, you think of the flawless situation. Like you've got, like you're not only forcing the Korean player to come in and speak English, you're forcing your whole team to speak English, right? And it is a very big clash of cultures, right? The Croc is the exception, not the rule. Croc and Weiser, for every Croc and Weiser, there are 3, you know,
flawlesses,
tricks,
flawlesses and tricks and Malrangs, right? Who like some guys you've never heard of, and some guys are Malrang and Trick, 2 of the most respected Korean imports ever to grace the West. They come down to Brazil and it doesn't work out. But again, for how long has it been going on? But call it no due diligence, call it whatever. But like, yeah. But again, even if you want to discount all of that, like RMC said, beat the worst team in the league.
Yeah,
that's all you had to do. They at least got a split out of Malrang of overall decent performance. Like last split from Malrang, he was performing well. And they made it into playoffs, right? Or didn't they? Am I losing my mind?
They made playoffs last split, but
and like, I think Malrang was unfairly dumped on by the community last split in terms of being like, he's a horrendous jungler, and I don't believe that the problem is Malrang doesn't know how to jungle. I just believe that this team is fundamentally flawed in terms of the chemistry with the players and the coaching staff, and like Malrang was worse this split. As in terms of what happened on the Rift compared to last time, in my opinion. It didn't get better. It didn't improve. He came on and was a very competent jungler in a team composition that did not work. And it just went downhill for him as it then once we got Scary in, we managed to go uphill with Natuno and Seos too little too late, and we had the top lane Lonely Batal situation kind of swapping around. But they got more out of Malrang than they got out of Flawless, that's for sure. Like, and like than Lost got out of Trick. Like, we got a lot more good games and good performances out of Malrang. We did not, I'm not going to call him a successful import. I'm not going to go that far, but it was not the same level of like abject failure as other examples, in my opinion. Ultimately, it is a failure because they benched him mid-season, they went for Scary, they instantly looked better. But
yeah, and I think that's the bigger problem, is if you bring in an import and an academy player is doing better. Yeah,
it's like the guy who like skateboards on the rake just to land on it and hit himself in the face, you know? Like, we still ended up hitting ourselves in the face with the rake. It just, we looked pretty cool while we were doing it. So,
sure.
So, yeah, it was a roundabout way. And again, huge money spent on some of the best, most well-known players in this region to just get 7th. Cool.
Yeah. And just to put this in context, KaBuM has finished in the top 4 once since franchising started.
Yeah.
Like, considering the money they're pumping in, the teams they have, that is just not okay.
No, certainly the worst value for money in the Brazilian region. That's for sure. I think just on average, because even when they had a budget roster, they did sensationally bad, and like, you know, you didn't make any big gains out of your budget roster. You just came dead last, and it looked like you should have been dead last. You know, like.
But they won a game. They didn't go 0-18.
Let's go, baby.
That's what the tough part is, right? It's not like the alternative was working, right? No. You can't say like, oh, they had a good thing and then they decided to just go out and splash some cash because it wasn't good enough. No. Nothing was working.
No.
And then the other thing didn't work either.
If they just promoted their academy roster, I think they'd still have made like 7th or 8th this split.
Yeah.
Like the one from last split with like Patal, Scary.
You wouldn't have done noticeably worse at the end of the day. They'd probably
they would have been INTZ. They would have been just like a fun yet unspectacular team.
Yeah.
That's exactly what they were.
Yeah, I think INTZ just settled down into a comfortable 8th below out of the playoffs picture by the end. It was like, okay, any of the shine and like we've got no advantage over anyone now, like anyone reasonable. It's a team. It functions on some level, but it's just doesn't have the source that the rest of the contenders had by the end of the day.
To give them credit, I think they did improve throughout the split. I think everybody else just improved faster.
Yeah.
Like Red and KaBuM came back faster. I do think they're better than Fluxo. Fluxo, yeah. I mean, we'll get to them later. But
if we did a special like last chance Fluxo INTZ match just to see if for INTZ to steal, there's a good chance INTZ could steal.
Yeah.
You know.
Actually, I will talk about it now. I am so frustrated that Fluxo got into the playoffs with just the way the tiebreakers kind of worked, right? Because I think Lunar mentioned that, hey, why didn't they just do a reverse tiebreaker where like you have to play to win to make it in, basically. I fully agree, because what's that saying about Djibouti? The Portuguese saying about Djibouti, the turtle?
You know Djibouti.
Oh, Jabuti.
Oh, Djibouti, sorry.
just fucking creamed it through a North American parlance there.
Well, I found the Twitter clip to promote the podcast, so I don't have to go fishing around for that. That's good.
Wow.
RMC talking about Djibouti. Okay.
Just like slagging off like random African countries for no reason. I'm like, I don't know where you're going with this, RMC, but I'm not sure I want to be a part of it.
Wait, what? How is that slagging off?
Djibouti, the country. DJIBOUTI. It's a small country near the Horn of Africa. But anyway,
he's right. Everybody,
I know I'm right. I know I'm right. In 7th and 8th grade, I won the geography bee in 7th grade and failed to defend my title as one of the final 2. I got to the finals, but lost to some kid in 8th grade.
Dang, that's for lore for everybody there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, save it.
But anyways, Jabuti. Yeah, it's they're up in the tree, and you don't know anything about it other than you don't know how it got up there. You don't know why it's there, but you know that it's going to fall out of the tree eventually. That's the only certainty you have.
Yeah. Looking forward to another Fluxo first round loss into a lower bracket first round loss.
I think I saw a stat somewhere that they've never won a competitive best of 5.
No, I think they won. I think they won 1.
because they started.
Okay.
They started.
We don't know. Maybe not a best of 5. I think they won a game.
They lost 2-3 in their lower bracket match for 5th, 6th with the House Brunsey roster, House Brunsey, Tay, etc. They were in the first round. They were against like VKS or somebody. Oh no, it was lost. They lost 3-2 to Loss, I think, in the first round of playoffs.
Yeah, Super Fluxo split 1. They got 3-0'd by Furia.
Maybe it was VKS.
And as the 5-6. And then
was it?
Super Fluxo split 2. They lost 3-2 to Cade. Yeah.
Yeah, it was. I think it was previous Cade. It was like Grell 3G Cade.
Yeah. God, that roster feels like a fever dream.
Yeah. So yeah, Fluxo has another shocker. We're expecting a continuing shocker. They have snuck in here on tiebreaker rules to mean they couldn't have a chance of not making it, which is a bit of a criminal maneuver. We don't expect a lot out of them unless they get their stuff together real fast. Like in the last week, they put together some games where like, okay, I could see you winning this game actually against like solid teams, but they managed to fail to win both of them, like, you know, in a kind of loss-esque fashion, like. Which is just never
they're like the reverse Loud.
And this is a Loud that is looking continuously doggers, like, by the day. That they're not looking good. Playoffs Loud is a Ludidus until the playoffs. So they now have to become Playoffs Loud, otherwise there's no more time. You've got to become good, or you're going to suffer in that first round.
Yep. Unfortunately, I mean, the playoffs will be played on 14-15, right? I'm assuming so, anyway.
I think so.
If the AD, if the nerfs are enough to get AD champions out of the mid lane, or at least leave it as just an option, not something you have to do, because both Tinones and Redbert talked about it in interviews that I am in the process of editing and we'll put up on the YouTube channel today and tomorrow. They mentioned that Tinones, look, he's Brazil's best mid laner of all time, but he AD mids just aren't his thing, and that has contributed some to to stuff that has been going on. Now, again, we say contributed because AD mids aren't the reason that Croc can't seem to play League of Legends anymore.
He has forgotten the game. It's quite unsettling, honestly. Normally we don't see this long of a run of consistently bad play from Croc. Normally he's always been a volatile guy, but it has been a while since we saw a good game from Croc. And like in a meta where you can play like anything, like Wiz showed us you can still play Nocturne. Like, he just did it, and he just played it in the tiebreakers, and he looked absolutely fine.
He still played Lee Sin, which is a Croc champ.
You can play
he's been playing hell Lee Sin,
Maokai, you can play Sejuani, you can play Ivern, you can play Brand, you can play anything, man. And we just cannot buy a win, and we cannot buy a good game for a Croc right now. So, and that seems like a massive hole. Like, when Robo is fine, Tiernones is good, Root is good, Redbert is fine, everyone's kind of there, but the jungle is just like is a black hole, and that's not going to stand against Furia in their first round, who summarily put away those tiebreakers without really breaking a sweat. And that's exactly how I wanted it, to be honest. When Furia was like contesting for playoffs, I was like, they better get in there, because the highs that I've seen from this team completely outshine the highs that we saw from the other two, in my opinion, taking the whole split into context in terms of quality of gameplay. And I'm very, very glad that they get to go up against Loud, especially a suffering Loud, and potentially give him a quick, swift boot into the losers bracket to wake everybody up when playoff starts.
Yeah, I mean, Loud is the 4th seed going in, Furia's 5th seed. It does not look that way. Furia looks like a top 4 team.
Yeah.
Loud. Reminder, Loud is our 4-time repeat champion. They do not even look like the top 4 team right now. And for Root specifically as well, by the way, Root has never lost a best of 5 in Brazil. Like, since he's come in, they've won everything. The last time they lost the best of 5, Loud as an org, was 2022 split 2 against Pain Gaming in the winners finals. And then they came back,
they still went on to win it because they came through the losers bracket, so it didn't even matter.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly.
They haven't lost like a fundamentally consequential best of 5 since franchise.
And even then, that was Brunsey in the ball lane. That was bot cap era.
Yeah. No, exactly.
Once Root came in, they just have never lost a best of 5.
Yep.
Silly.
So, very strange business going on. You know,
I'm just glad that Redbert got a title, because it would have been really tragic if he came over from that. Because we all know Redbert's a good player. Even when he was on that terrible KaBuM roster, we knew he's better than 1-17. He's not a 1-17 support. But if he would have come over and that's when the Loud dominance ended.
Yeah, it would have been unfair, undue hate would have gone to him for that, considering like he's not enough to ruin that dominance by himself.
No.
It would have just been the time for Loud coming to an end, which it quite easily could have happened last split. It didn't.
Yeah.
And I think
it was one game from happening.
and it feels
exactly.
One game and one shit draft by Pain away from happening.
And it feels like it could happen this split, you know, but like it would have been very undue, I think, to Redbird if that had happened.
And not to kick a dog while it's down, but like, hey, y'all were all saying that Redbird's worse than Seos. Guess where Seos ended up? He's not even in freaking playoffs right now.
Man. Seos only remembered how to play in like the last 2 weeks, like 3 weeks maybe, if you give him a leniency. But
yeah,
we really lost what was making that work for a long time. So Loud and Furia, 4th, 5th, first round. The other side is Red Fluxo. Now, we're kind of expecting Fluxo to get absolutely lawn mowed, like just scythed with abandon by Red, because Red are just they haven't played a bad game in like 3-4 weeks. They're 7 wins deep on the streak right now, or something like this.
8 wins.
8 wins deep on the streak.
After last week.
They are looking like if they were in, you know, contesting for that top 2, I have no idea who wins between Red and KS.
On current form, if you were to just take like right as the split was ending, on current form, you could make an argument that Red's the second best team right now.
Sure. Yeah. I could make an argument of the first best team, just because VKS are looking a little rougher around the edges than they were, and Pain have like started to limit test a little too much, you know. So like if Pain reverts back to what's clearly working and goes back to the standard formula, I think Pain are gonna solidify. You know, no more Sivir. I don't think we're gonna see the Sivir again, and like we'll be all right. But that's like a very, very exciting best of 5 for sure. And like in terms of the games Red's been putting up, like still with the variety as well. Like we're starting to see a little bit of the AP junglers coming back for ages, not Maokai every game. Like
it's literally every game now.
It's still working.
Also, it is worth noting, K-Star's opted to face Red side of the bracket. You know, I'm even going to go as far as to say K-Stars is looking for Red specifically. Like Zabuchi is going to fall off the tree, and that's going to be that. But K-Stars is going to face Red, and they wanted that instead of Loud. And I know that when it happened, my first
they wanted Loud to take Pain out of the winners bracket.
That was my first response. When, like 4-4 and I were like doing the coach stream, and I saw that, I'm like, they're trying to screw Pain right now.
Yeah.
Like they are literally just trying to set that up. But they
gamesy.
did release scrim data from last split, and K-Stars did do better into Red than Loud last split. I suspect, and this is not substantiated, Loud. I've heard that Loud is doing well in scrims, and so K-Stars might actually prefer the matchup into Red.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't blame them, because like on any given day, right? Like again, it is the least likely in this universe, on this timeline, we are in the darkest timeline for Loud. But at any moment, they could, if they come back, that would be brutal. Like I don't blame Cade for taking that gamble, right? Like that is. I feel like then you would have like even if it's not true, but like you would have no one to blame but yourself, because you literally had all the, you know, like you're like, okay, peak Loud we can't beat. Yes, they're not peak Loud, but they could be. Why would we willingly put ourselves there, right? Peak everyone else. Cade is putting a stake in the ground and saying, look, we can beat peak everyone else if we play at our peak. If we play our peak and Loud plays at their peak, we can't beat them, and that's okay.
Sure, yeah, that's fine. And also, I do feel like there's a simple way of dealing with Red, which nobody has done so far in the round robin for some odd reason.
Oops. Yeah. It's tough.
Just try this. It's the winning formula. Trust.
Yeah. Ban that champ, and like someone just get your academy mid laner to pick Sion and just workshop some matchups, please, because like let's just not give Grevthar the free lane every time we give him the Sion, okay? Like he's clearly happy playing it into melees, he's clearly happy playing it into anything meta, just like let's find a solution to this, folks. I'm sure there is one somewhere. Like, go and pull one out. We just can't let Grevthar get the utility champs. So Red are looking very, very strong. The draft is tricky against them, and they're just firing on all cylinders. It's really just a case of how long this energy lasts. I hope it keeps lasting. There's a chance we see some sort of drop off. The best of series, of course, potentially might threaten them, and it might make that draft a lot less volatile and powerful for them. So we'll see. And I imagine Flux is just going to get stomped on, and we'll see the VKS Red matchup, which will be very, very exciting. It might give Loud a little, you know, momentum boost to win in the loser bracket. You meet Fluxy down there, sweep them aside. Good. Now we're cooking. We've got some wins under the belt.
Hey, you get your confidence back. Just 3-0 Fluxo.
Yeah, we get
right that all the way
final. Pain Furia, like it's all good. Yeah. So
I'm gonna laugh when Fluxo just shows up completely differently, and it's the first 3 week Fluxo and just smashes everything, and everybody looks like idiots calling them dead.
Just spoils the whole thing. Like, oh my word.
That would be simultaneously the best and worst timeline.
Oh dear, I just can't bear to see Red like fumble the bag again, man. After always being able to have this team that just feels like it has that special sauce, has that extra bit of juice, and just never. If we're talking about playoffs chokers, you know, we have House here, but like Red have not been able to realize their potential. I think for splits now, and I hope that they can give us something this time around. So, Loud Furia, Red Fluxo, first matchups coming up this weekend. Certainly Loud Fury I think is very, very interesting, and then Red Fluxo should be a nice, fun, exciting, you know, victory lap for Red before we get into the real playoffs. And we'll see how that works out. You know, as we say, INTZ settled to the bottom, Loss and Liberty. Loss, they stole KaBuM's heart and then still managed to lose to Liberty, which is just hilarious at this point. Like, unbelievably.
I have to talk about that for a second because like I don't know what the hell is happening. Like NB, I think is going to be out of a job after the split.
Yeah, you think he's run out of goodwill?
NB has thrown. Yeah, I'd say he's thrown the hardest in this league this split. I'm trying to think who's thrown harder than him right now. Last week or this past weekend, that Corky TP. Hell no, man. And the week before that Yone ultimate into into nothing. Like
he was
literally that's twice.
Out.
Like if not, Los Grandes honestly would have won both those games.
Yeah. I got nothing to add, Your Honor.
Yep. Unfortunate. So we'll see what happens with Lost, what happens with BRTT, with Envy, with all these people. There's talent to be found on that roster. Super Clever especially. Like, let's find a home for this man, please.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then Liberty. I don't know. He had a good run, folks. Like, it was fun time. Let's see what the future brings. I would be very surprised if we see more of Liberty. But, well, that's not for us to speculate on necessarily. Okay. With that preamble out of the way, shall we get on to the main meat and potatoes?
Okay, yes, let's go.
Let's talk about some gosh darn CBLOL players.
Woo!
Let's get ranking, folks. Okay, the way we've done this in the past, we go by role. Just to keep it all in context of each other. We'll go through, we'll get them done. We'll go back at the end, see if we need to do some reshuffling, some rebalancing. We have a strict 3 players per tier policy here, folks. Not everyone's an S, not everyone's in B. You know, we can't have Dinkedo and House both in S, and I'm sure we'll have that once again. You know, we're ready for that.
House definitely ain't making that S tier.
I think House is not making the S tier, no. But like, we've been gearing up for that discussion. It's going to be a lot easier because both House and Aleko, I think, just cannot be forcing that argument this time around. So Dinkedo is probably going to be safely unchallenged when we get there. Anyway, let's go top to bottom, left to right, Western.
And again, this is for just this split, not all of 24.
Yes. Yeah, it's not the whole life. It's not how we think they are at the course of their careers. It's how they've done this split going into playoffs.
Yeah,
so
entire split, including even the first couple of weeks where certain players were
where the whole thing was upside down and Fluxo was 6-0. Yeah, even that way. So
you do have to count that, unfortunately.
Topu Lenu. I'm just gonna go ahead and I'm just gonna type FNB here. Does anyone?
Yeah, FN Boss still deserves to be up there.
Some FNB
monstrous.
Up here.
Easy S tier. The only question is how many people join him up there.
In fact, I'm gonna say it right now. FN Boss #1 for top tier.
Yeah.
I'm fine with that.
I think
really consistent.
We had a bumper serving of bad Wiser games compared to most splits. Robo was just really somewhat of a sleeper, honestly. I feel like I've not really felt the Robo influence this split at all.
Not at all.
But counterpoint, I think I agree. His highs haven't been as high this split. I think he has had fewer games where you go, "What in God's green earth are you doing, you inting bastard?" In this, this split
but
than any other
is that because we were more shocked that somebody inting harder, or was it because Robo wasn't inting?
No, I legitimately think okay. He probably has lost them one game just mathematically, but I'm struggling to think of it. I'm struggling to think of a game that Loud lost that it was Robo's fault, because you could put that on him 1 or 2 times a split. I don't think I can think of one this split.
The last one I remember was the Garen game, and that was last split, I think. where he just like Garen solo runs in 1v5s at a team fight in mid lane and loses them the fight. I think that was in split 1. So
now, to be fair, there have been a couple games this split where he has limit tested some, but I put that in a slight, and it's gone wrong for him. I put that in a slightly different bucket than, I think the games I'm thinking about when I say like, what are you doing? You're inting, is when he's not limit testing, when he's just on Renekton and is just bad for 0. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like I put that in a slightly, like it's still a loss. You still did poorly. That's, you know, the same. But like one was like, I don't know how this will go, and one's like, no, I know how this should go. I just shit the bed. I think those two are slightly different.
Yeah. Okay, that's fair. I guess in my head, the reason why I think Robo is kind of just bad as he was, and in fact, worse. I agree. He's got less like I just plowed into this for my team moments, but at the same time, I think it's even worse that you've got higher average deaths than you did last split, while having less highlight reel inting moments. That just means you're fundamentally playing worse, as far as I'm concerned. Yeah. His
but also
KDA is also just generally low.
The team has just lost more, and the losses have been just
the whole team.
I think that's going to inflate it slightly. Yeah, I think that's going to push. I think you would see that on every Loud member.
It's like when they're
potentially sure.
Like I take your point, and that's fair, but I think just the whole split that the whole team has had is going to bring some of those numbers.
Yeah, I think there's
I'm actually
room
really curious now. I'm going to check
for
that.
tops and supports particularly to rack up death scores that aren't necessarily tied to their extreme bad performance. There's a generally lower level of play that implies, I think. You're less solo kills, you're maybe giving up more kills into more ganks and things. But there's times and there's metas where that just kind of happens. And I think that when the team is worse, the tops and the supports and maybe the jungles closely after that are going to suffer the hardest. And I think FNB suffered a little, not FNB. FNB did not suffer, to be honest. I think Robo suffered very hard here. But there was no like, I've just decided to invade your red buff at level 1 on Gnar, and now I've died, and no one could, not even I could tell you why. You know what I mean? Like, we didn't see as much of that, just like, what kind of play. So, I think he just kind of settles into like,
let's put him in the interest of time. Let's put him in high B for now.
Sure,
and then just get everyone else down, and then we can shuffle some people.
Can we like trap like Gigo up into A?
Gigo's
Wiser up into A.
I would right now. I think for S tier, I did have Wiser in S tier because he had 2 bad Gnar games. Aside from that, and I still firmly believe to say he was limit testing on those, because as soon as like last week rolled around, Payne was like, "We're done."
I think he was. I know that Wiser's not bad at Gnar. I know he knows how to play this champ. Yeah. I think it's limit testing, and it's bad. It's a run of bad games in a row that really like developed an unfortunate narrative for him. But I don't believe he can't play this champ. Like I think it's bad luck.
So may I propose? We've got FNB, Wiser, Gigo, and S tier.
I don't know if I want to put Gigo in S tier this split.
I don't know if I got Gigo in S. I'm fine with. Yeah.
I just feel like VKS has not been about Gigo in the same way, and it's not like the meta is like to the point where he's less able to carry on the champs that are playable compared to last split. Like I just feel like we're seeing less from him, and we're seeing.
And it's maybe not even his fault, so maybe that's the argument
of
just like why you maybe you don't punish him for the fact that like Cade's bottom lane is unbelievable.
If they've been able to pivot to Smiley focus, it means that Gigo has less resources. Maybe, but...
So some fun stats about Gigo specifically and why I had him S tier was despite the fact he's not being focused, he's not being given ganks nor carry champions, he actually has the highest DPM of all top laners right now, 719, which is kind of nutty. And his goal difference at 15, which is pretty much 1v1 solo laning. He's the second best top laner, plus 471. The highest is Wiser at plus 526. So despite the fact he's not flashy, I think he's being actually quietly insane. And if you give this guy's carries, those numbers are going to spike.
Yeah. Yeah, I could take it. And like I say, I think the focus has just shifted away from him. And I think he's not just started playing decidedly worse necessarily. So I could put him bottom of here. To be honest, with stats like that, is it worth putting him above Wiser? If he's not putting up bad games, they finish first. Wiser had some. Don't
ask RMC that question.
Wiser had some truly awful games in this split.
It was just 2.
Yeah. How many did Gigo have? 0.
Yeah.
No games from Gigo. But Wiser had bigger carry numbers, and again, like the numbers we're talking about, Wiser did do better than him in lane. So the same numbers that I'm using for Gigo, like Wiser's still doing good in those too.
Okay, we'll put FNB up
All
here
right,
at least.
Yeah, FNB1.
Yeah,
What do you think, 404? What do you think?
We'll just go. I don't know. Wiser Gigo in some order. Let's finish out the rest of the top.
Okay, we'll leave it like this.
Bros, I cannot have convinced you to put Gigo from A to S and have him pump them up Wiser like this.
If it wasn't literally tomorrow for
Soldier Boy
Trajan,
out.
I'd be happy to have this out. Just knock it down, drag it
Okay,
out.
okay,
But
okay.
we said we were gonna go.
Keep it tight. Okay.
A tier.
So we now have names like Chiari in the mix, ZZK. I don't think
ZZK.
anyone else really can get to A. Honestly,
Would it be crazy, despite ending 10th?
Yes, it would. I know what you're gonna say. Yes, it would. We just didn't see enough for an A tier from Super Clever.
Yeah,
He had
I hate to
he
say it,
was
but I think he
not
belongs in B.
dragging that team down, but we weren't.
He was
seeing-
trying so
He
hard to
really-
drag them
I
up.
Agree, very
So
strongly
was
with you.
BRTT in the first half of the split.
And we really just we
We're
didn't
not gonna
see
put
the
BRTT
same
in A.
individual performance that we saw from him.
But
last split
BRTT
as
did
well.
it 1v3.
Yeah, he had one epic play bot lane.
Okay.
Love that for him. You know? And we can talk about where we're putting him and Robo together, but I don't think we've got an A for Super Clever. The split was a unmitigated disaster for this team. And I think ZZK is, if anything, less consistent than Super Clever. And there's maybe an argument to bump ZZK further down than A, to be honest.
Yeah.
But
I'd put ZZK in B.
But
Yeah.
Same. Like
I think Chiari can go in A, in my opinion. Does anyone want to contest Chiari in, like, maybe even just bottom of A?
Yeah, I want to contest Gary. I'd give him A for his first 3 weeks, and then after that, no.
Sure.
Like, he just could not carry that team.
So that means we have potentially Robo, Super Clever, and Chiari, and ZZK in B. So now we've got too many Bs. So who's going to C or A?
Oh, okay, wait, hold on. For A, any chance, like low A, mind you, Lonely. The man was blinding Twisted Fate and winning lanes. Okay, people were also self-counter picking.
Oh my God.
And he paid Malphite.
I didn't even have to
He did
try,
have some bangers.
And we've converted
Yeah.
a Lonely voter. I've been waiting for this for 2 splits, brother.
And yet you didn't bring it up,
I've
Trajan!
been waiting for people to, because
I think he thought it was fruitless.
I was exactly. I was just
Never give up. I've been going on to Kiddo for like
no one believed
4
in
years
Lonely
now.
but me for years. It feels like I'm happy to drop Lonely up here because I think you're absolutely right. I don't think Lonely put a bad game up, like a bad game. I think Lonely did a very solid job. He's always been solid, but he particularly slotted in and did not miss a beat and performed very well from the get go. He didn't have that many games, but I think he looked way better than Batal and performed
way better.
I would say way better over the overall. But
Post being sent down to Academy, I think he looked way better. Before being sent down to Academy, I think they were like the same.
So
that was last split, right? Because Batal started the split, or no?
Did he start?
Wait,
Batal
I forgot who
started.
Lonely was pretty not good last split either.
Last split for sure. Yeah,
I still don't agree that he wasn't actually completely fine last split. But that's the
yeah. We
discussion
started with
had last time.
Batal this split. Day 1 was
Yeah,
Batal.
yeah, I think
So
we had Batal for
when he
like
came
4
back,
games or something.
I think he genuinely did better. The reason why I'm like hesitating to put him higher was more. I think the recent games that KaBuM has been playing, Lonely has been a little bit underwhelming. I think now that Twisted Fate isn't something that's being picked that much.
I think his Renekton was cooking as well. His Renekton was really cooking when they let him loose on that champ. But
I'd take Super Clever over Lonely for Renekton.
I mean, in theory, I'd probably take Robo over it. But in terms of the actual games I saw on the
Sure.
Rift, I think Lonely's Renekton did a bit more than Robo's Renekton, honestly, in this split.
Excuse me.
Fair. I guess.
So this
Yeah,
still
no,
leaves
Lonely,
us
Lonely.
with 4 in B. This is someone else that wasn't even talked about here. This leaves us with ZZK, Robo, Super Clever, and
Chiari.
Chiari. So
yeah.
who's going in C? Who's the C?
ZZK.
Okay, wait. Well, let's start from top to bottom. So out of those 4, who's at the top?
I think Robo. I'm not even memeing.
Yeah, I'm okay with Robo. Yeah,
I think
it's Robo or ZZK for me.
it does still feel like I'm just putting him there because he's Robo, but like I don't know if that's wrong. You know?
I don't think he's been worse than any of those other guys.
No, they're still.
Well, who
10
do you
and
have at
X.
top, Trajan? Then
They're still 10 and X. Like, probably. I don't think I'd put ZZK there. I think he had too many really bad tank games.
fair.
I'd probably put Chiari at the top, but I know that you guys have maybe gone
Yeah,
off
I'm
him
low
over
on
the last
Chiari
little
right now.
while.
My order, I think, is Robo, Super Clever, And then in some order, you could put ZZK, Chiari, you know, high B, low C. I think they both are kind of 3-4 in some order.
Okay, yeah. For me, it's Robo, ZZK, Super Clever, Chiari.
Chiari going in C? That hurts so bad. It might be true, but it hurts, you know? It really stings after that first half of the split to arrive there. Man, maybe it's just the truth. Maybe it's just the truth that we don't want to accept. Yeah, I would take Super Clever over ZZK. If I had to, like, draft these players, I would pick Super Clever over ZZK. I'd probably take Super Clever over Chiari because I think there's more potential there. That's not what I'm necessarily judging.
So I've been doing the math on the other screen. That means that on average, Super Clever goes middle of B, and then on average, it goes Chiari, low B, and then ZZK, high C.
Yeah.
I think.
Wait, didn't Trajan just said he'd take ZZK over Chiari?
Did you say that?
Super Clever?
No, I'd take Super Clever over ZZK, and I'd probably take Super Clever over Chiari. But
okay, my bad.
ZZK or Chiari? Who's better in your mind? Who did better the split?
Chiari. I think Chiari can play. I think Chiari can legitimately play anything, and I don't think ZZK can play anything.
Nope, that's fair. He can only play carries, but damn, his carries good.
He's damn good 70% of the time on those carries.
Except for when he plays Urgot, apparently, because he just forgot how to play Urgot. It was a
no, he played Urgot well. The rest of the team into those games.
His best champs, and his team just couldn't get it together.
Yeah, those were great games.
I gotta rewatch.
So now that leaves us with Yups and Makes, and I'm gonna be honest, guys. I don't think Makes is making it out of D tier this split.
Nope, he is not.
I think Makes in D. I'd give Yups mid C. Mid C. I think
Yups right behind here. To be honest, I think Yups had a tricky task this split as a rookie and did a really serviceable job. So
yeah, I think he did an amazing job, and I think he's gonna scale up wonderfully next split.
Now, how deep are we putting Makes here? Because Makes
middle's fine. The whole team was a mess. I don't want to put him at the very bottom.
Yeah, let's not put him
right down. I would put it right down.
I would kind of put him at the bottom, but I'm okay. He's already 2-3 spots below. We'll put him. He's already just slap bang Soul D. Like, you can live in D.
All right.
Well,
if anyone else is driving down here, because
we can scale them between, like, if there's, like, you know, a worse jungler or a worse mid laner, you can just, like, who's actually just, like, the bottom tier
we'll let the rest
player
of
in the
rest of the pool decide.
Kind of thing.
Bro, he's got the second highest average stats, tied with Cavallo, only behind Leandro. Like,
Oh, I remember when Cavallo was a really promising support, man. I remember that.
I know. It was for like half a split. We were like, this dude is it. This dude is the truth.
I think it was like a Desamis Cavallo Liberty roster or something that I was like, but it's been a while since that was happening. Okay, so...
All right, Jungle.
Younglers.
This one's
wound
interesting.
up at the top? Because, like, you asked me the first half of the split, Aegis is like, what? But now, hang on, Aegis has remembered how to be the best jungler in Brazil again.
But we do have to take the whole split into account, and for me, that's why Aegis cannot be an S. Because if you take the whole split, if you take, like, right now, how are they performing right now? Aegis is an S, no doubt. But if you take the whole split into account, Aegis is an A.
Yeah, okay, that's fair. I think in which case, in my head, there are two S tiers, and it's just who we go with, Desamis or Carioca.
Yeah.
And then for my A tier, I've got Wiz and Aegis.
I agree with that.
It's Aegis and let me just make sure I'm kind of looking across it here.
Wiz. I think Wiz started second like half here, and he's been creeping up all split, and now he's kind of here.
Yeah. I'm fine with Wiz. Yeah, I'm fine with Wiz at low A, Aegis at high A, and then Carioca, Desamis in some order in S. Just slap him down there for now.
I do kind of want to put Aegis, give him a little bit of daylight above Wiz for now. Because Wiz had a lot of fine games and some really good games and a couple of bad ones, but he had a lot of just like he's jungling, he's like a lot of C's games, you know. But Aegis like has really just been smashing it, so I think he gives a little bit of room here. To be honest, like if it was me in my list, I'd probably put Aegis here and then Karaki Desamis, but I'm okay with this. I think this is fine because that first half was absolutely.
I wouldn't be too upset if we bump Aegis up to low S.
We can
fine
consider
either
it.
But
I
just
for
think
Karaoke Desamis, who's taken number one spot? 404. I'm not asking you, RMC.
I didn't say squad.
Not interested in your opinion on this.
I didn't say squad.
Not interested.
Weirdly enough, I think not as a spoiler, but I actually think that that RMC might have Desamis only because we talked about this.
Yeah, we talked about this.
If I'm remembering this conversation correctly, I think he might have Desamis up. Dude, I don't know, man.
I actually did have Desamis in the
so tricky, man. I want to put Karaoke first.
I have no strong feelings one way or the other, honestly. I think you can make an equally good case for both of them.
So
You got a tiebreak for it. You know that I put this.
I would do this. How do you feel about this?
Ooh,
Potentially
I
bumping
think
all
they...
three of them up.
Okay, bumping them up. Like I said,
Also-
I don't mind that.
I could flip a coin.
Why not? man? Why not?
No, we can't just flip a coin. We actually got to pick one. That's the whole point of this year, is to force us
So
to.
RMC, what's
We have
your
to.
just to confirm what your actual take is between?
I actually had Desamas first.
Yeah.
I think Desamas has been absolutely incredible for his team, and where Carioca Carioca's Zyra, I think is number one. But if you take him off the Zyra, I feel like
Snidley was lit this split for the like 2 games. you saw it.
it was if we're gonna Nidalee, I take Wizards, to be honest. I think his Zyra is just both different. But Desamas, I think, has been very, very consistent across all his carries. So off of Zyra, then I think Desamas actually might have more things under his belt. And I feel like the fact that Kate Stars has been more consistent has also partially been to Desamas, whereas Carioca has had some bad games where he didn't have as much presence, or he just kind of screwed up the early game a little bit and fell behind. So that's why I kind of had Desamas over Carioca. But again, it's very, very close, right? If you're talking about like creativity and who's got, like, Carioca is the one who kind of introduced the AP junglers back into CBLOL with the Zyra.
And already had the Ivern prepped and stuff. You know, he's got
exactly.
depth right there. And Desamas generally plays the type. The AP junglers were so good that you couldn't ignore them. But once they started to get tamped down a bit, we're back to Vi, we're back to Sedge, you know, we're kind of back to there is a classic.
Well, he's got the Nocturne.
There is a Nocturne kicking around there, but
sexy.
there is a fairly definitive, I think, style of junglers that whether Desamas wants to or not, he gets drafted most games. Whereas I think Karaoke offers a bit more depth to that position.
I'm actually not sure I agree with that. I feel like Carioca is usually the one who's either like you're either in Sejuani Maokai or you're in AP junglers.
Once again, I think that's when you say AP junglers, like it could
like
be Bran,
Zyra, Bran,
Zyra, Ivern, which is
or
not an AP
Nidalee.
jungler, but like
So funnily enough, Carioca actually hasn't played Ivern this one.
no, but I know he can.
Sure,
Like, who
know he can.
has? I think someone has, maybe like Drake.
There's been a
or something.
couple. I can't recall.
Someone might have done it.
Who did
But
it off
like,
the top of my head.
I
But
know it's possible.
the other
but
problem I have
haven't-
with
I haven't seen
Carioca
Desamas do this kind of thing. Yeah.
it's like his Lee Sin and his Vi just give me
his Vi is very like, to be honest, it's kind of like Karaoke's Vi. Sometimes it really pops, and sometimes it absolutely does not. But like for Lee Sin as well, I mean, I don't trust anyone on Lee Sin in this game unless you're Canyon.
Only Trick Hero has played Ivern this
It was Trick Hero, yeah.
I thought somebody else did it too.
And
But
you know, they both got a Zen and stuff. 404, what do you think? Which of these two?
Dog, I don't know. I've spent the whole time you guys have been talking, I'm gonna be honest, I haven't listened to a word you said. I've just tried to like do like I keep putting one over the other.
Yeah.
And try to like I'm no closer to an answer.
You know what? Fine, I'll bring it. Carioca. Let's go play the game.
Okay, Pain Gaming, let's
fair
go.
enough.
All right.
Karaoke
Wiz,
won.
Yeah.
Right, let's
Both
head
very
down
deserving.
to the B tiers. Now, this is where names like Shinny, Scary, Yampy...
Shinny, Scary, Croc, Yampy, take 3, leave 1.
I'm leaving.
So I'm leaving Shinny.
I'm leaving Croc.
Oh, actually, no, you're right. Actually, I'll
Croc,
drop
bro.
Croc over Shinny. Sorry, yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, I'm sorry, Croc. Not this split, man.
No.
Like, C for Croc.
Because Yampy in the last few games, my guy was getting caught like every single game, every single few minutes. Like, as a split entirety, I think Yampy was just solid. I don't know if I want to put top of B, and I don't know
I'm fine
if
with
Scary has earned
Yampy.
top of B like as a jungler.
I think Scary middle of B for me. Scary
Yeah.
middle of B.
I'd put him up
Yampy
here.
bottom of B. I think they're kind of
Yeah,
comparable.
I don't even feel like we need to follow B. Like, I'm fine with
No.
putting Shinny and Croc in C.
It's a shame
Damn.
for Shinny. Could have been like here, man. But
I'm sorry. The Shinny's
yeah.
throws at the end, like I just could not tolerate.
Yeah,
that.
like the Baron play where like
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
He
Shinny,
felt like he was playing scared to me.
yeah, and
like at the
failing
end.
to achieve like anything for 40 minutes.
Like
yeah.
if you had thrown that Baron at 20 minutes on that play, I'd be a lot more lenient. But you were playing like you were scared to engage in J4 for 40 minutes.
Yeah.
And then you throw at Baron? Like, no, man, no.
Yeah.
And it's not just that game, too. Like, the last couple of games, Shinny just was not engaging the way he should have been engaging.
Yeah, Shinny's WTFs per minute go up a lot after the 20-minute mark.
Yeah.
Yep.
Does that leave C's in C or D?
I'm gonna be honest. I do not remember Caesar's performance.
Yeah.
Yeah, me neither.
That used to be the case, but in a good way, because he was just never doing anything wrong and always
Very
doing what his team was supposed
last
to, him
split,
to do.
I had C's, I think, in A tier, or like
Yeah,
I had some
I was
ridiculously
happy
high
for him to be-
spot.
Yeah, I was happy with Caesar. Like this guy, you never really like see what Caesar's doing, but he's always doing exactly what Lost needs him to be doing. It's kind of like Scamber in that, like for Fluxo, which is like he's just doing what he's supposed to be doing quietly and efficiently the whole split.
Yep.
And he was like a very solid jungler. Now he's invisible in a bad way. And sometimes very visible in a bad way. Like when it comes to big objectives, we saw a lot of scrambling around loss or objectives, and sees like ultimately objectives. The jungler is a key member there, and we did not see any like strong positive impact from C's. I think so.
Yeah, you know what? I say leave him C. Like again, he was rather invisible. He wasn't like NP levels. So
and then Drake
yeah,
Hero.
C for C's and then D for Drake Hero.
Yeah.
Oh, no, sorry, Leveson. It wouldn't be Drake Hero because Drake Hero went down to Academy.
Did not really get many games.
Yeah, I'm sorry for Leveson. I feel like he was the second worst player on that team. So
yeah,
I put him C.
Not really CBLOL already, to be honest, in my opinion.
Yeah, he's good.
Right.
He's not bad for Academy standards. Let's make that clear. It's just
Yeah.
CBLOL is a bit too early for him, I think.
Yeah. Okay. Now, this is normally a tricky one, but it's probably going to be fairly easy for us this time with mid, because we still have Tinons, we still have Dinkato, and we don't really have Leleko anymore. We don't really have House to the same point anymore. Do we have anyone else that's contesting us up here?
Would it be crazy if I said Tinon's not S tier?
No.
I don't think that's crazy.
No,
I think Tinon's high A. I think for me, Dinketo's
at the top now. I think Dinkato is.
I had Dinkato and
Tuts. Mm-hmm.
Oh, true. I forgot about Tuts.
Yeah,
I thought Tuts.
Yeah, I put Tuts.
Tuts is refusing to fall off this split. Absolutely refusing to do so.
Yeah, I kept waiting for it. Did not happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
To CBLOL
that dad buff is just different, man.
Yeah, man. Dad.
Like he did an interview and he was saying that things have changed since he had his daughter. Yeah. So
dude, that happens to so many athletes. It's crazy. They get dad strength. It's
hell yeah.
It's wild.
He still looks like a 14-year-old boy, which is wild.
Yeah.
Okay, the other thing about Tuts too is like generally speaking for like mid lane, I remember we always look at House and House always tops the damage charts for mid laners. And he's always like, oh, House should be up there. House did 764 DPM this split.
Yeah.
Tuts did 760. Yeah. Tuts was right behind him, highest KP of all mid laners. Like this guy was just absolutely cracked. He hit the best laning phase of all mid laners, tied with MB at plus 273. Yeah. So
the only thing he can't do is rotate to Dragon on time. It's the one thing Tuts can't do. But everything else is rather good. And as soon as Hawk pointed it out, I can't unsee it. Like every single time since he mentioned that, I was like, wow, he's still farming mid, huh? Like, okay. So I think we go Leleko and then House, and then round out A with it. Or would you bump it down?
I did not think Leleko was good.
I'd go House above Leleko. I thought this was like one of House's best splits, honestly.
I think it was a very solid House split. I think I'm probably just colored by the last couple of games of KaBuM, where we just like saw House fumble a huge bag on the Ezreal game and then just not manage to impact the critical tiebreaker in an effective way that I wanted him to.
I would go, if it was me, I think I'd go House low A, Leleko mid high B. I think House is where we cut off A tier for me.
Okay.
I still think
so
House
who do you have
is a really strong
House?
player that you can build a really strong team around. Like
I don't know, I'm kind of like falling off that train. Like it's we say that every split, and every split House gets a team like half built around him, and it just never works.
To be fair,
this one was built around Malrang.
This team was changed.
This one was not. You can make an argument it was built around Malrang. You can make an argument it was built around Seos. You can make an argument. I don't think his team was built around House like it was. It's been in previous splits. There were too many cooks in this kitchen. I think there were other things. I'm willing to absolve House of a lot this split.
I think they pivoted to being more around House in the second half when Natuna and Seos just failed to achieve anything for a split and a half. We then it went into a House carry season when the mids are just AD carries who can control the whole game. Like the meta was very, very strong for mids who can get money and carry. And they were playing around House very, very like powerfully there. And Lonely as well. It's not like a carry top laner, it's like a weak side top laner. Once the bot lane got in line, we split a little bit, and Natuna was able to do a little bit more. Sales was able to do a little bit more, but again, like House and Natuna were the only two carries on that team, that roster. There's no top lane threat, and there wasn't a bot lane threat for like a split and a half.
Okay.
I'd be happy to keep him in A and do Leleko here as well. I'm maybe just giving Leleko a bit of a free pass for not doing anything visibly bad, but like I don't know how much bad.
No,
or good he's actually
I have
doing.
Leleko down. I think Leleko is like an active detriment to BKS right now.
Really?
Yeah, I think he's got like one good champion in Oriana. Again,
And they're just
not
bad
even
every
actually.
game now. Yeah.
Yeah, like he's got one champion that looks good because of the way it can synergize with the Samus, and that's Oriana. Everything else is just kind of like super meh. Like you trade out that mid laner, and I think Gate Stars might win this split.
Damn.
Okay. So I think maybe Leleko's low B, high C. I think the murky middle. I think the hardest stuff is guys like Fu and
Grevthar.
Grev.
Yeah.
Yeah, Grevthar. Okay, I
The
actually
the
had
most
Grevthar
polarizing
in my
player in the history of
Grevthar
CBLOL
is-
strikes again.
It's
We
very
don't know
hard
what to do with him.
quantify.
I every time I do this, I always have Grevthar high because I always firmly believe he does not play meta. So if you force him to play meta, he looks bad. And I am so
There's
justified.
a really good mid laner in there. There's a really good mid laner in there.
Like,
Yeah.
It's like
I remember
it's
when
like he's
Sion
in the
came
marble
out.
block, and you've just got to like figure out where to chip away at the marble block and hope you reveal a Michelangelo.
It's there, but the problem is it's not a Michelangelo. It's more like a Picasso under there, right? Like you've kind of got.
It's very abstract.
Like,
it's
it
very
looks-
unorthodox.
Yeah, and that's why like I was so happy. Like, I remember there's so much flame about his Sion mid, and I was like, no, guys, this is actually good. Like
No,
this
it
is
was
perfect
crazy.
for him.
It was so good.
Yeah, so
it was so good.
I have Grevthar in A tier. Now I'm fully aware that two of you might not feel the same. So wherever Grevthar ends up, so be it. But I actually have him.
Is he better than
Mid-A.
Leleko?
I'm fine with Grev in high B. I don't know if I'd put him in A,
Sure.
taking like the whole split into account. If we're talking
That's fair.
what he's found now, I think I'd put him in A2. I think he's the fourth best mid laner right now.
Okay, yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
Fu? Fu sneaking into bottom of B, or does Fu lose it through Fluxo's trials and tribulations?
I think Fu and Pilot are like these next two.
I think they are
basically.
Yeah, I agree.
critically underutilized in these absolutely horrendous projects. Like,
I think
Yo, like,
yeah,
Kate,
no,
pick up one of them.
Pilot
yeah. Bro,
Am
you
I-
could put Pilot on
is
red.
Pilot a top 6 mid laner?
Yes,
He
probably.
might be. He
I
genuinely
think he's
might
a
be.
top 6 mid
I think you
laner.
put Pilot on red, and that team doesn't get any worse. Like, I think you put Pilot on VKS, that team doesn't get any worse. You can put them on
Pilot
Lost.
is very stable. He's been like actively good on a team that is just a dumpster fire.
Yeah,
Yeah.
He's more than actively stable. I remember at one point he had the highest damage share of all players, I believe, at one point because of the way Liberty was playing.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, which tells you more about Liberty than anything. But still, you still got to show up and do the damage.
yeah. No, but like our old criticism of Pilot back in the what was it Netshoes or Cruzeiro days was that this guy he just shows up and does nothing all game, right? He
Yeah,
just
they
sits in the lane,
funnel him gold
doesn't
and nothing
die.
happens. Like,
Yeah, like I remember, was it last or 2 splits ago when I popped the trivia question to know like who's got the least deaths? Like it was Pilot because he didn't.
because
he
he
didn't
Didn't
die.
do anything. Yeah.
Yeah, but now he's actually doing things. I genuinely
Yeah.
think actually like I'm impressed with Pilot. I'm
think
actually
he's a
quite
good
impressed.
player.
I'm proud of Pilot.
Feels,
Yeah.
feels
I-
tough to have them in different tiers. I think Fu and Pilot are very similar entities at this point. I think they're
Agreed.
very
Hey,
like effective.
but if we're saying that we take either of them over Leleko,
Maybe Leleko's high
Are we
B, and
seeing
then
Leleko?
Pilot mid B, Fu low B.
and then
So you're
put
still putting
Grevthar
Fu
into
below
A.
them.
Are we, is this how 4
No,
4 or
no, I
or-
think B
Something
is
gets Grevthar,
for me. B is Grevthar, Pilot, Fu, and then
Oh,
Leleko's
yeah,
high
yeah.
C.
Yeah,
sure, yeah, I'm down for that.
I could go for that. Pilot over Fu, despite Liberty's absolute dumpster.
Yes.
That's a super tough one because I think Pilot had the harder team to work with.
And I think he's
and-
been around for a little longer, and we've seen a couple of splits now of very strong play from him. And I think
Yeah.
if I had to pick one, I'd probably take Pilot again. Just like
Yeah. The way I look at it is I think they performed at similar levels,
Yeah.
but if Pilot has the harder team to work with to do
Yeah.
that, then I think Pilot's
which
probably a
which
little better.
leaves Dioge and Envy.
Oh man,
Dioge.
I feel like I think Dioge did well for
I
his.
think he can hang out like
debut
down
split.
here.
Yeah.
I think he's fine here.
Yeah,
I think he's having a
like
nice
I
time.
want to put Dioge as high as I can, but I
was
can't put him above
Envy-
anybody else. So
Was Envy actually the worst mid laner in the CBLOL across the whole split? I don't think so.
I think in terms of performance, there's games where he outperforms players like Dioge, maybe Fu, maybe Leleko, but like the team is just cursed, and there are plenty of times where Envy has very visibly detrimental effects on those games. And like I don't
I mean,
think he's
I
a
guess-
D tier mid laner. Like I don't believe that he is. Just
Yeah.
well, yeah, I guess in my head the problem is
he's
that Yeah. Our mid laners don't throw, generally speaking. The two
No.
who threw the most are Envy and
Yeah.
House. But House had big upside. So,
Yeah.
like, you know what I mean? Like, I can excuse House.
The two
I-
worst single plays, like the most high profile, what in God's green earth was that? I cannot believe that flashed across my screen, were Envy and Envy. So
Yeah.
I think those I think are swaying me a little bit in the negative direction, but I don't think he's the worst mid laner in
I think,
CBLOL,
yeah,
personally.
like I just can't like abide him being considered a D tier player. Like I just, once
He's
again,
not.
it's like
Sure.
I'm trying to think of the other example that I had a second ago. Like I forget, maybe one of the junglers, but it's just like I just don't believe that they're like just like unsalvageable. Like D is a serious accusation, you know. And
Sure.
I
Like,
feel
to me,
like
D
Envy's-
means you belong in academy.
Yeah, I think Envy performed and added the least as a mid laner to any team. Like, in maybe, you know, there's an argument that like players like Laleka who didn't have important roles to play in their teams and didn't really do anything helpful, but he did so many awful things, man.
Well, my problem. Okay, so I do have intent. I do think he's the worst mid laner in CBLOL because when I look at the other person who's in the similar shoes as him, Pilot, like Pilot actively tried to carry the games.
Yeah.
Envy just kind of flew under the radar for the most part. Like I remember the first beginning of the split, everybody was criticizing, like, okay, the issue is not BRTT, then where's the issue, right? And like at that time, a lot of people were saying it's Envy because he's not pulling his weight, right? Like he's not moving, he's not at the team fights, he's not landing his skill shots. And then as the split went on, it became more seasoned Cabby, which I had called out initially. But ironically, I kind of went the opposite way. I thought it was seasoned Cabby initially. Then as we headed towards the end, I was like, okay, I think it's Envy now.
And I think like Envy in last Split's lost roster again had a very like subtle role to play in that team, but was like it was like karma mid meta for a lot of it. And it was quietly very valuable and very like solid and effective. And now it's quietly
it was like
very
C split one.
like so it's very similar to C's, honestly. Like it's just like
here's
a
a
role that gets more money.
here's a proposition. We take everybody from house down. Move everybody up one slot.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
I
Just a thought.
would keep it where it is, honestly.
Okay.
I'd keep them all where they are.
All right, let's keep it where it is.
Okay.
We're already
I
at 55
do
minutes.
think
Okay.
I put a block here as well. I just think there's been too many fumbles
Fair.
with
Sure.
all the resources for House, as much as it pains me. Anyway, bot lane,
80 carry.
kind of a tricky one, especially now as we've arrived at the end of the split in terms of who's like filling out all of these top spots and specific orders. We obviously have names like Titan to consider, Root, Smiley, Brunsey, and then, you know, as of the last few weeks especially, IU has been really creeping back up into that consideration.
Oh yeah.
So could we shake hands and put Smiley at the top?
Yep. I think that's undisputed right now. Smalley's number one.
Yeah.
Like when he beat Loud, I wasn't convinced, but the way they closed out, I'm convinced.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think Smiley high A, and I would go Titan right below him, and no
IS,
one
you
else.
High S, yeah.
Or, sorry. Yes, high S.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, yes.
I'm not even going to entertain
Smiley
it.
high S.
Yeah.
Titan right below him, and then nobody else in S. And for me, actually, I was about to say it, and then I retract it. Brunsey belongs somewhere in A. I don't know where in A.
Sure.
Yeah. So let's put
yeah.
Titan here. I think that's fine. I think...
I had IU next up. That's third.
So I would have had Brunsey, and then I couldn't decide between Root and IU now. But I would have had Brunsey
I
here.
think I think Root is still really good. Definitely deserves A tier. I will also
Yeah.
say I think this is the worst split Root has had in Brazil.
I agree. But the bar has been really, really high for him.
Yes. That's why I said like he's definitely A tier for me, but I don't know if I'd have him over IU and Brunsey right now. Like it's a tough call.
We could have them all nice and cozy in A.
Yeah, I think those three.
Sure.
Yeah. My order is Brunsey, Root, IU in A.
So mine would be Brunsey, IU, Root, I think.
All right, RMC, what do you think?
I had IU, Brunsey, Root.
Get that
I
calculator
guess that
out
puts
for-
Root at the end, and then
I think Brunsey winds up at the top
Brunsey,
on average
so it's-
regardless.
Yeah, Brunsey, IU, Root. I think is what it averages out to be.
Yeah, and this is like IU and Root. I think is I chop and change them, to be honest, because IU especially like has been really growing back up to where I want him to be, and Root has slightly dropped off. But as you said, like the bar was incredibly high for Root.
Yeah.
expected semi-perfection out of him, and we didn't quite get it.
Yeah.
So
Just as a fun stat, Bruncey's DPM is actually on the lower side as far as AD carries are concerned. He is, how many is that?
He's
1,
playing
2,
Jin too many
3,
games, man.
4,
He's playing Jin
5,
too much.
6, 7th. He is 7th in the AD carry role for
he
DPM.
took over from Trigo as the Jin player in the region after Trigo got bored of it for no reason whatsoever. Speaking of
Trigo.
Trigo, it's B tier. Hello, welcome to Trigo Town. Does Trigo even make it to B tier?
That's a big question, no?
That is a really good question. That's a
So
really good
players
question.
like Natuno and Trigo and Ninja Kiwi were like fighting to.
No, I
consider
literally
them
think
for
that's
B?
your B tier right there in some order.
I think Ninja Kiwi did well, actually.
Yeah.
Ninja Kiwi was great.
Yeah. I think he's continued to be amazing. Like,
I don't know.
bro,
about amazing.
no matter what roster, I think he's amazing. Considering the rosters he's on, that he continues to pump out damage and continues to be a big carry,
think he
regardless who's around him. I
He
think
is
it's huge.
unshakable. Like in terms of he does not get dragged down massively. I think by the rosters that he's on as an individual player. I'm happy to put him at the top of this next stage. I will be leaving some space between him and Root because, Jesus, man.
Okay.
They're 8 and 10. Like,
Well, I think he performed better than either Trigo or Natuno. So,
Yeah,
like, I've no problem
I
with putting
think
him there.
that's
I just think
fair.
one of those two are going to get bumped down to see if this is
yeah,
the case.
I think that's going to happen. I think that's going to happen, and I think
God, that
Natuno-
feels bad.
I think Natuno is has not done enough to make it out of C, in my opinion, after being
Ooh.
very actively bad for a split, and then spending half of this split being pretty actively bad, and then the other split being somewhat close to maybe what he should have been the whole time.
The more you hate him, the more you love him. Or the more you
So
love him, the more you
I'd
hate him, I guess.
probably, I mean, I've always been a Trigo hater. I've always been a this guy can't do it guy.
And you're still putting him above Natuno.
Maybe that's the thing.
Yeah, I think I'm like 55-45 leaning that way as well.
Where does BRTT fit into all this, by the way?
Oh man, I think
I think
even
mid C.
further.
I think right below there. I think mid C.
Oh, I have him dad tier right now.
You
No,
don't.
he's not that
You
tier.
haven't
He's not
D
that tier.
tiered him. No, I don't think he's D tier.
He did the least DPM of all AD carries, not named Mikau, and Mikau got demoted.
He did. He really did.
We can't put BRTT in D tier, dude.
So is the BRTT worse than Leandrin?
Yes, actually, I would unequivocally say yes. Right, I thought Leandrin did actually really, really well. By the way,
I think
so
Leandrin did
I'm high on Leandrin. I thought they did an amazing job for the situation they got dropped into.
Okay. Well, the good thing is we have room for all of them in C. I don't think anyone was D tier. I don't think anyone was a D tier.
If we
AD
put a
carry.
little one of them sneaks in here and we put all three in here.
Exactly. I think just in order, no gaps. Yeah, it's Trigo and then Natuno, and then Leandrin and then BRTT.
Yeah.
Sure.
Natuno needs to be punished for this year. He's going in C. Okay.
Do we think Natuno is just scarred at this point? Like, I thought he was coming back for a little bit in the midseason, and then
he
feels
was
like
for a
he
little bit.
vanished
But I
again.
think it's partly because Seos was coming back. I think a big part of that is because Scary and Seos came. Scary came in and Seos came back, and I think Seos is a big part of why that started to work better.
Okay.
Well,
I
let's
think
talk
Seos
about it.
Yeah. So support. We'll have to get back to Seos because we're starting at the top and he's not up here. So, supports. We've got Pro Deltas. We've got JoJo's, Curry's,
Yeah.
Redbirds.
I think Curry
not up here,
and
but
Prods are S tier for me.
I think they
Yeah,
are.
I think Pro Delta and
Who's-
Curry are in S tier.
Who
and I don't
is
think anyone
top
else
between
is.
Curry and Prods?
Curry.
Yeah. So I would have said Curry
It's close, dude.
like 2 weeks ago. Now I'm not sure. I would have said
The
Curry
way I
for
think
the
of it-
whole split up until maybe a week or two ago, and now I'm not sure.
I thought his Bard games in the last week were actually spectacular, and that's why I kind of have him above Prods. And also in my head, like Tan Curry, Smalley Pro Delta, they are very close 1-2. If I think Smalley's better than Titan, then I think Curry's better than Prods. Because I do think they're really, really incredibly close. Like, that's how I'm thinking in my head. Right?
And
Like,
and Curry has just really had just so many massive highlights as well this split.
Yeah.
Prods has had really, really good games as well, but I'd be okay putting Curry
for
Prods
sure.
top two right up here, like right up here.
All right, I'm fine with that.
Jojo, does he sneak into A or does he go down to S or he go down to A?
JoJo's been really good.
I think he's. I think his the JoJo's best role is being a leading decision maker for his team, and sometimes that gets him into a spot of bother when he's on champions that can't get out of bad situations, like Nautilus, like Leona. I mean, Leona can kind of get away with a lot in this season,
his Rakan is.
Yeah, and sometimes
his Skarner support.
Yeah,
true. The
so
Skarner
sometimes
support. Is he top of 8 just for that Skarner support game, dude? That shit was crazy.
Oh, do we push into S for that game?
I would put JoJo in S in this split. So I think that his play style naturally will. You can't perfect a split playing like that. You're gonna end up on the wrong side of a place before at some point. But he was so good. Io and JoJo is such a banger lane, and JoJo is so important to Fury, I believe. In terms of like pushing them forward. The laning phase is great. The individuals are doing a great job, but JoJo I think is super important to pushing them forward, to getting these really clean wins that push their advantage and like take control of a game really actively. Because he's
you know what? I'm down for that. I'm down for S tier JoJo. I wish we could add like another space because I do think there's a big gap between top 2 and JoJo. But I do think JoJo
there is a gap
there.
there. But I think he's S, yeah. So I think, you know.
Yeah.
There is. These two are decidedly in a separate class, I think, but I think JoJo's still S tier in terms of a player. A. So we still have Redbert, Frosty, Damage, Scamber maybe. What about Frosty and Redbert? Realistically, I think for
my unchiseled opinion is Frosty Redbird somewhere in A, and then like Scamber leads B tier.
Yeah, I'd probably put Frosty mid A, Redbird bottom A, or maybe Frosty bottom A, Redbird top B. That's what I would probably do.
Yeah, I feel like Frosty in a way he's mechanically good, but I feel like he's getting a bit of a free ride from Red, and especially from Graftar actually. Because to me, right now in the current meta, with a lot of the champions they're picking, like your support is often your primary engage, but on Red, it had to be Graftar's primary engage.
Yeah.
So I kind of can't give it to Frosty when I feel like he's not fulfilling that role for his team. Redbird to a certain extent, I think Redbird has been actually pretty good this split, but Loud is ironically crashing at the worst possible time for him.
So I think we can keep Redbird in A, I think.
Sure. The other two I kind of had in there was actually Scamber and Damage.
I really liked Scamber's split.
Yeah, his Braum play, man. He's like the most prolific Braum support player right now, and I'm in love with Braum in this meta.
So I'd put Scamber like top of B, and then Damage. But for Frosty and Redbird, who are we putting first? Frosty or Redbird?
Give it to Redbird.
Redbird?
Yeah, I might even put
I think you can make an argument for both, though. I think they're both.
Does Frosty make A?
Yeah.
I think Frosty has been, especially in the last like couple of weeks, in the same way that Red has been amazing, but like Frosty I think has been very, very
I think
good.
Frosty's lows are lower than Redbird's, but I'm fine with him in X.
I don't think he makes A because I have 3 people above him.
I'd be okay with putting Redbird bottom of A and then Frosty, Scamber, Damage just be like solid. These are all like great, reliable, solid supports.
Okay. Frosty's okay. So Frosty, Scamber, Damage in B somewhere. And then like, Redbird A. I'm okay with that.
Like so. That's I feel good about that B tier. Which leaves us with Seos, C for Seos, and C for Cabby, and C for Cavallo.
Oh, damn.
So, I mean, it's not C for Cavallo, I'll be honest. Cavallo.
Wait. I might have to bump them up then, because I don't feel like Seos is C.
No?
It feels really bad.
Yeah.
Maybe we have to shove someone else in A, because,
Yeah, because Seos, as bad as the split has been for him,
we could pop
he's
Cavallo
still not
in
a
D.
C so far.
Yeah, we can
pop Cavallo in
him
D.
down here for now. We'll
just get that out of the way, and then we'll focus on...
But I think that, because we saw, we got to remember a bit of what Seos is at the last, once Scary came in, there was a good few weeks where we did see like, okay, Seos is like...
Peak Seos.
Really good.
Well, yeah. He also never inted, to be fair, on that KaBuM roster. So...
Maybe not this split as much as last split, that's for sure. But
Like
this split, he didn't do nearly as much inting. I'd be okay bumping everyone up one and sneaking Seos in here, but it's kind of in the same way. I guess I do think on balance, I would punish Natuno more than Seos, having finished the split out. By the end of the split, I think that Natuno deserves more
grief.
yeah, ruination in the 7 circles or whatever it is. Like,
God damn.
so I think that that's leaves us with KaBuM, and
Yeah, KaBuM goes somewhere in C.
I thought KaBuM was like the worst
I
performer.
thought he was very bad this split.
Yeah.
Does he?
Oh no,
land
I'm
here?
okay with him in D.
So compare him to Cavallo. Compare him to Cavallo. How close is he?
I thought he was worse than
so little this
He was
split, dude.
worse than Cavallo.
I thought so much about him because of the BRTT KaBuM bot lane and the way that kept falling apart. Because I did not think it was BRTT's fault. Like BRTT was not performing well, yes, and it felt like he got worse as the split went on. But I felt like he was being mentally inted by KaBuM. Like
you have much stronger opinions about this than me. I'm okay with that.
I'm sorry, yeah. KaBuM and C's, like, yeah, they told me a little bit.
Yeah, I can tell. I would keep KaBuM just above. I could see him down here, but I would keep him one space above Cavallo. I think that, like, I can't remember a single good thing I saw Cavallo do this split, man. Like, not a thing that I saw Cavallo. I was like, oh look.
I thought his laning with Leandrin was still okay. Like, he was still willing to go in. The problem with the Liberty squad in general is that if everybody's looking kind of bad, then like,
yeah,
like nobody on that team was like doing well except for Pilot. You know?
Yeah.
So yeah, Cavallo's not
like,
good.
Pilot gets a notable bump for what we saw from
Yeah.
him in a terrible team, but I can't give Cavallo points for what I believe might have happened. Maybe, you know.
That's fine. I don't feel strongly.
And
enough
they're
to-
both, yeah, they both had an abominable split. We can all agree on this. I think so.
Yeah.
Right. Supports teams. Who's actually the best team right now? Is it VKS?
Pain.
Is it Pain? Is it
It's
Red?
Pain.
Is it Pain? Is it?
Pain.
Is it Pain? 404? Do you think it's Pain?
If they had a better mid laner for Kate Stars, maybe they could take number 1.
I thought you were about to say if Pain had a better mid laner. I was like, why are we choosing
what?
this moment to dump
No,
Pain about?
Just break your own ankle.
Why now?
Oh, they have a Kate's mid laner.
Yeah.
Ugh. No, I mean, it's weird because I wanted to say Cade, and then I did the mental exercise of who would win in a best of 5 if they played each other. I think it's Pain.
Yeah. I think Pain works it out.
I think they're a more complete team.
Would anyone begrudge me putting Red in the bottom of S?
No.
Yeah?
Right now, Red is red hot.
Yeah, Red are flying.
Mm-hmm.
Only counterpoint. Again,
Okay.
if we're taking the whole split into account, Red can't be an S.
You know what? Okay.
If we're being fair to the whole split.
But I feel like Red after
They started
Nelson
out
is
3
not
and
the same as
7.
Red.
They were
But that was
awful.
after Nelson.
It's coach diff, bro. It's coach
Who
diff.
cares?
It's coach
Who cares?
He's
That
not on
counts.
this
There
team.
are
This-
more
this-
games.
this
There are
team-
more games where they were terrible. There are 18 games. 10 of them, they were terrible.
Wait.
8 of them, they were really good.
This team doesn't have Nelson on it, so it's it's S tier. Because, like, if Nelson
Wait,
was still
we're
here...
throwing away the whole premise of the exercise now?
Yeah, we maybe have to put them into...
No, the premise of the exercise, we take the entire split into context, but like the same way we evaluate Liberty, we're evaluating like after Mikau and Drake Hero are gone, right? Because that's
No,
not
we didn't. Liberty were terrible the whole time.
We didn't. We kind of... That's why...
Liberty were terrible the entire split.
So I think we need to... Maybe
Fine.
Red
Yeah,
here.
fine.
No.
Yeah. Because, like,
Fine,
they
fine.
put 8 wins together, 8 best of ones together. Let's see how they do in a best of 5 when someone remembers to ban Lilia, and then we'll talk, and we'll see. So, yes, I think it's fair. If we're going to take the split into account, they did... You know, Nelson wasn't logged in on Summoner's Rift playing with them, you know? So
Exactly.
there's only so much the coach, I think, can be held responsible for what happens in micro interactions in the game, which were also very bad for Red. Like,
There were some seeming communication issues. That were some decisions that were made that were...
The reason that Aegis is down here as well, like, you know, I'm not blaming Nelson necessarily for all of the things that Aegis did wrong in
Exactly.
individual moments.
Like if we're gonna put Red in S, then we got to put 8. Then we got to put
Yeah, we
Aegis
have
in
to
S. We got to
put
put
Aegis in
Gregor in A. We got to redo this whole.
All right,
Yeah, this whole flipping.
I see no problem with that.
I see a problem.
How,
with
so
I-
how
I-
about
That's
how about right Furia
I think Furious A.
mid A bottom A mid A
Yeah.
bottom A. I would put them a little bit of space between them and Red personally. I think that
Sure. Yeah.
we've seen a lot of good stuff out of Furia, but you know, they also had a rough first start, and we didn't wind up in a comfortable qualifying spot, whereas Red are 8 wins deep. So I think,
Yeah.
but I think Furia absolutely earned A, and they absolutely earned above Loud. Now, where are Loud
Sure.
here?
Loud's,
much-
high,
how
Loud's
much
no lower
space-
than Hybe.
How
no
much
lower
space
than Hybe.
between them and Furia? No space? Just a little...
I
I think Loud are the only team in B tier.
I can get behind that,
Oh, maybe. Yeah.
but I also don't think they're right behind Fury. I think right now, from what we saw, okay, again, once it hits best of
Because
five,
even when
things
they were
might
winning
change.
games, they didn't look
Yeah.
good at League, really. They looked like they could team fight really well at 25 minutes with 2 items. Like, they didn't
Yeah,
look...
and
They
Fury
looked bad.
dismantled Loud.
They looked
like,
bad at so much of the game for the entire split, and they did not look better at it at any part of it by the end.
No, yeah. And
Yeah, I'm
again,
okay with that.
Fury utterly dismantled Loud. In that game,
Yeah.
the 30-minute game, like it wasn't even close. At no point was like, Loud can turn this around. No, it was like just like, oh crap, we lost the Fury early game. Yeah, Fury's not just gonna give you a chance, and you're not. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so does KaBuM, INTZ, Fluxo just sort of clog up C, being incredibly disappointing in some fashion?
Incredibly mid.
I don't have Fluxo as C. I think Fluxo loses to Los Grandes.
What? No, I
Yeah,
can't.
let's-
I'm not putting Fluxo in D tier with Loss and Liberty when they finished with 5 more wins in the split than both of them.
Yeah.
Or was it 6 more wins than both of them by the end? I don't even remember.
No, and again,
And
we're
then
taking the whole split into account. Even then, I think it's close, but I think Fluxo beats Los Grandes in a best of 3 right now.
I think that
Or best of
the
five.
score from Los Grandes is incredibly deceiving. Like they are actually probably one of the best early game teams in the league, which is the weirdest thing to say. But let's not forget,
I think it's deceiving, but I don't think it's incredibly deceiving. I agree that they shouldn't be 2-16. They should have like 5-6 wins. I'm fine with that, but that still puts you 2 games behind Fluxo.
they had one of the closest early games with Cade Stars of all teams. Like how many teams had a good early game against Cade Stars?
Having a good early game is not as good of a predictor of a team's strength and success as winning in other parts of the game. I think the amount of times you see vastly underdog under seeds having good early games against strong teams at international and never, ever, ever actually winning, I just don't believe in the strong early game as a particularly hard thing to achieve compared to winning a game later on.
Well, tell that to Fluxo. I'm not saying that they're better than
More
KaBuM,
games.
but
They won 6 games, more games compared to Loss, who
they
failed
won.
to win
Okay, so
countless games.
here's my problem. Fluxo won games. Like, if we take their average of their play throughout the split, they didn't even play that amazingly the first couple of weeks. I think teams were just asleep and not quite on board with what was happening. So they won easier games. And Los had a bad early start, but I think on average, if you take their performance, I actually think they still perform better than Fluxo on average. It's just that they peaked when other teams were peaking. So they had to go up against KaBuM and Red when they were awake and actually playing the game. And meanwhile, like Fluxo kind of just sucker punched those early wins and then coasted on that after. I have a very negative opinion of Fluxo's performance.
I can
so
tell.
far, evidently.
So
No, look,
Evidently.
they're not a playoff team, but I
all the
can't
teams
put
played
them in
each
D.
other
I
in the
can't put
first
them in
round
D.
robin, and Loss beat Red when Red were the absolute
Terrible.
bin bottom
Yeah.
of their livelihood, and
Yeah.
no one
one
else until KaBuM in the final week when KaBuM failed to draft like humans. They played against all these other teams in their so-called slump era and failed to beat all of them. Just in the same way.
Okay,
you know?
look at who they played at the end, right? Like when they hold on, who did they play at the end here? Los, right? Like they played up against KaBuM, beat KaBuM. They up against Liberty. That was literally an NV throw. If not, I don't think it ends that way. Up against Red as well. Okay, no, Red was the one game where they didn't like get that close. Red handled them pretty well. Cade Stars struggled against them in week 7 when Cade is still very, very strong. Los should have won the Loud game, right?
Yes.
The Fluxo game was also pretty close. The Pain game, they did a weird poke composition and still held even for 15 minutes. You contrast that to Fluxo's losses and performances in the second half, right? Like Fluxo's just getting run over by everybody pretty much. They struggled against Los Grandes. They won against Los Grandes, but it was one hell of a struggle.
Yeah.
I don't know. Again, like while I agree with you, I think the gap between them right now is closer. I just cannot I can't in good conscience put a 9-9 team in. Again, I want to reward Fluxo for their early wins. They racked up a lot of them. Right? It wasn't just on accident, right? They didn't dumb luck into those wins. They played better. Like you said, there are some confounding factors where other teams might have been a little asleep at the wheel. But there are no bad bad teams.
I don't think Pain was asleep at the wheel when Fluxo beat Pain.
Yeah.
Like
I did think they were asleep at the wheel. They freaking entered their draft again.
In week 3, I don't think Pain was like
in
week 3. It was like the 6th match of the split or something.
But they're
they
so
faced
much
Fluxo on
better.
day 2 of the split. Week 1, day 2. was when they faced
Fluxo?
Fluxo.
Oh, who did they face in week 3? That was meant to be like the Fluxo
or
is
Pain?
are they at Fluxo? Like, are they
Fluxo,
a real
Cade.
team?
Fluxo
Cade
faced
was
Cade
Fluxo.
and Liberty in
Maybe it
week
was
3.
Cade. Maybe that was
Yeah.
Cade.
Yeah,
I think it's
so
Cade.
they beat Cade. Yeah.
Yeah. I just
Yeah, I think-
And that was the game too, where like after the game, Coach CL was like losing his mind after that game because of the way Cade just overchased
took, like, all the
everything.
dumbest
Yeah,
fights of all time. Yeah.
you see, that's what I mean, right? Like they go up against teams at like the best possible timing in the first half, and that's why like I don't think
when teams make bad plays, it's not just like, oh, the team was bad at that point and now they're good, so it doesn't count because they beat them when they were at a bad point. Like, that team made a bad play, and like as a totality
for the point
of
system,
that team's strength,
for sure.
They're all in the context of the entire team's strength necessarily.
I think if you're looking at total wins and how the standings pan out, I fully agree with you, Trajan. You lost, you lost. I don't care whether you like had a stomachache, you're on your period.
Yeah.
Like I don't care. But if we're talking about how good the teams are, I do think it completely matters. And I think that Fluxo just got really lucky with their run of schedule. They faced the good teams when they were weak. And I'm not saying Los is a good team by any means. Like, they are definitely a bottom 3 team.
Yeah.
I just think they're better than Fluxo.
Do you think they're better than Liberty as well?
Yes,
Loss.
100%.
I kind of do as well.
Liberty's-
I think Loss
Liberty's
is better
disaster.
than Liberty.
Yeah.
I would do this and then Liberty here.
I'm okay with Liberty at the very, very bottom.
Yep, agreed.
I think
I would put a gap, yeah.
Yeah.
Between Loss and Liberty?
Yes.
To put
I
them
think
right in the
they're
middle.
not one game.
I'm fine with that.
Even though.
Yeah. I do think that last game was just...
Yeah.
I do think that what Loss was able to do against better teams is worth consideration, even if they didn't win the games. But, yeah. Anyway, okay.
All right.
So, for these primary awards that we had some bonus ones that we went through them in the split, but these ones that we've been tracking split on split for many times. Rookie of the split, again, we had Yups and Dioj. There are 2 rookies, and we had picked Dioj before. Would anyone like to claim that Yups is now better than Dioj?
Nah.
Yups
I
is good.
personally wouldn't. Most improved. Now, before, who did we have for this? We had Smiley,
Yep,
who
I
is
still
at the
think it's
top of
Smiley.
S right now.
Yep.
Yeah. It's Smiley.
Feel pretty happy about Smiley for most improved. Didn't even
I'm
show
very
any
impressed.
drop off coming into playoffs. Like, the guy is just, it's like Red. The guy is the Red of VKS. He's just like,
He's
can't
flying.
lose right now.
He's blind.
Most Elo-Helled, we had previously locked in Super Clever on Los Grandes. There's also a potential pilot argument that we had raised at the time, which I think still holds true. They're both sitting pretty above the most of their teammates. Do we think that Pilot has potentially clinched it over Super Clever, or would you still like to take the top lane?
I think so.
I think so. Yeah, I think Los Grandes actually improved. Liberty did.
And Liberty did not. So, yeah. Super Clever was robbed by his own team again, somehow. By improving in the last 2 weeks, and then left him without even the most Elo-Helled award. So, another L for Super Clever, unfortunately. Someone please pick up this player. Biggest flop. Previously, we had Makes.
I think it's either Makes or BRCT.
It's Makes. I think it's Makes or KaBuM, personally.
Is it crazy to say Croc?
Oh, maybe, man. Like, he just never got any better. If anything,
got
it felt like he
decidedly
got
worse.
Like, as in, like, from when we checked in last time.
Yeah.
It feels it's even worse.
I mean,
Did they
Croc has
run
been
it?
like our top 2 jungler in this region for
because
years
like
now.
up until halfway through this split, it was say what you want about Croc internationally, domestically.
Yeah.
Since he's been on Loud, he has been a top 3 jungler. He just dumpsters kids.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like, I think it's Croc, actually. I think it literally is. That pains me, but I think it really is. We expect a lot out of this guy. And the last one that isn't quite visible here, just most loved by chat, which if we were streaming this, because normally we would stream it, we'd have a most loved by chat vote. Sadly, in terms of like a best kind of most loved player, to just quickly think about who's like the everyone's Blorbo, like everyone's I want to protect their smile 4x4. Do you have a...
I think it's scary.
Okay. That's fair.
I think he's
Scary
worth
played
a shout.
half a game of Vi. They were like Scary greater than Malrang, spamming every single chat. Like
Yeah.
the
Yeah,
universe was taken with him.
Yeah, I think most loved by chat. To me, the essence of it is like
Definitely most loved by
this
chat.
guy-
That's actually very true. Yeah, it's
it's like is this guy as good as we all think he is?
Yeah.
No, and we all kind of know that, but he's still really damn good, and like he's fun to cheer for, and like he's just everyone's just scary. Like his impact is a little overblown, but he's not bad.
Yeah, definitely.
Which kind of sounds like I'm calling him overrated, which like
yeah. Now
Overrated,
bit,
vibe
but,
drop, like vibe higher.
Yeah.
4 hate scary confirmed.
Yeah. Now
Look,
we
I
have
consider myself
That
I
can
consider
come
myself a bit of a personality hire, so I'm right with scary, man.
we have a big shift actually in some of these all-star teams because Chiari was top 3 the last time we did this, and
Yep.
that's
sense.
not happening anymore. Now
He was
it's-
also 6-3 when we lost it. This was
so
6-4.
before it was Wiser FMB Chiari, and now going by this, it's FMB Wiser Gigo,
Yep.
which I think is very reasonable.
100%.
Desamis Karaoke Aegis is very nice. Previously, we had Shinny in third, Lamal again, Fluxo just
Same
dropping
thing.
off like
Tough.
like anchors,
like stones,
like bowling balls.
Like
so
tortoises.
we would have Karaoke and Desamis, and these are obviously again 100% interchangeable. These are very, very close. And then Aegis chilling here, which is not bad at all. Mid lane, I think Dinkado has fallen out of favor, and Dinkado and Tuts have just slipped above him because we had Tino's Dinkado Tuts. And
You're
now
saying
we're probably-
Tino
You mean
has fallen out of
Tino's
favor.
has fallen out, yeah.
Yes, sorry, Dinkado has not fallen out of favor. Tino's fallen out of favor. So before we had Tino's Dinkado Tuts, and now I think we have
Dinkado
Tuts
finally
now.
gets his throne, his rightful
So I'm
place.
glad that Tuts has finally made it up into second, where I wanted to have him
Yeah.
last time. I will remind everybody, but here he is, elevated.
Yeah.
As
What
Tino's continues to-
what a 2-year arc for Tuts, man.
I
What
know.
a 4-year
Yeah.
arc for Tuts, man.
Yeah.
COVID Cup champion,
COVID Cup to now, yeah.
right? Yep, just completely dropped, lounging in academy,
Yeah,
came up, was like really sick, and then like not sick at all, and like, dude, is he just bad now? And then just
Yeah.
an awesome split this way.
before
Phenomenal.
we had Titan above Smiley here, we now have Smiley above Titan, and then we had Root here before, but now Brunsey has been elevated up, and
Yeah.
Root has continued to drop off, and Io I think is like whoop, right just here, because Io I think is one of these. Io and Brunsey, I think you could put them both as interchangeable players into teams. I think they're both similarly manageable and similarly impactful, you know, in the same kind of area. But you can also
can buy
draft
that.
Io, you know, Udyr if you want. Just in case. So
True.
there's always that.
Did he? Wait, who was the guy who played Udyr in the bot lane? Was it
He's
I?
like
It was
something.
Io. It was Io and Zai.
Was Io?
played
Okay,
Senna
yeah,
Udyr
yeah.
Bot lane.
Yeah.
And Zai played Senna.
God.
Last
And it
split.
was- and it was really bad. they lost that game, and they didn't really do anything. And the support is the only one that stayed the same. Curry, Pro Delta, Jojo in that order, which I think is absolutely fine. Now, I would much rather, you know, keep Pro Delta with Smiley if I had to try and build a super team here. I think.
Well,
I don't know if Curry. The energy of these two players is just too aligned. Of Titan and Curry,
Yeah.
you've got
Like,
to
literally
keep them
they're
together,
attached.
or they will
100%.
potentially explode and destroy the whole teams around them. I think.
So I would bump up Prods to
Yeah.
first all the pro,
Yeah,
and then Curry down to second to keep you know, those two O's together.
for that to optimize that would be doing. I mean, Smiley Dinkado is a banger carry core in the current meta. Karaoke, I think, as well
yeah.
with these lanes, and then FMB
Karaoke Dinka is just
requiring
spot on.
0 resources to do whatever he needs. Like, if you just put Pro Delta here, sheesh.
I feel like
Easy
FMB is like the fifth wheel on a date. You've got on a double date.
Yeah.
You got Karaoke Dinka, Smiley Prods,
Yeah.
and then
And everyone's like,
FMB's just there.
drop me a rumble, please. Bye.
Robbie
fine.
Cassante,
You guys have fun. You guys have fun. I'll pick you up at
Yeah.
7. It's fine.
Yeah. Now, conversely, I do think that Pro Delta would be able to handle Titan. I just don't think that Smiley would be able to handle Curry. I think that Pro Delta has.
Am I crazy or did Titan dump Pro Delta?
He kind of did, but
he
they never played
joined
together.
The team
It
that
was-
Pro Delta was previously on.
It was
but
B-Boy Pro Delta. And then when they
Yeah.
picked up
Okay,
Titan,
okay.
Titan said,
So
if you want me,
they
you got to take my Curry.
they both
Right,
went
right,
in
right.
and out.
I don't know if they
the Golden
overlapped.
War, you know?
Yeah, so they never actually rode together.
So he like kind of dumped him.
Yeah, and
Kind
the
of,
Wiser
yeah.
Desamus Tuts is just a very, very strong core. It's like very strong 8, 9s out of 10s here. We don't quite have... We need the 10 out of 10 energy to come here from Titan. I think this is like very good 8.5, 9 out of 10s, but we don't quite have like an Enkato Corki or an FMB.
I mean, I'm kind of excited to see how like Desamus would play with Wiser and and Tuts. Like I think there might be something there. I could see that, like as them being the carry side potentially.
And then for the third team, putting Brunsey back with JoJo, they were like at a time the best bot lane.
That was great, man.
Tinones as well, I think slots in basically anywhere. And if he picked
Tinones back with Brunsey,
picked his socks back up, put him back with Brunsey for the loud dominance. Aegis, I think, does have big loud energy and would work well on like a loud roster.
Yeah. I also think JoJo Aegis was a really great iteration, and that was a big part of why that red roster
very
won.
good. And then Gigo as well.
Like
is an
they were so cohesive. Like that was everything that Red was, right? Like they were better when they were at their peak. They were a better team.
Yeah.
These are the 2022 champions.
Yeah.
It's 2022 Red.
Yeah.
Like in top jungle
Aegis
support.
It's first team all 2022.
And then, Titan 2.0 and a mid laner who plays mages instead of Sion. And it's like and back at that point, Grefthar was playing like Victor and stuff. Grefthar was actually a pretty solid mage player at that point. By the end.
Yeah, he was actually winning lane at that point.
Yeah, so like we've just got like a probably better mage iteration.
Yeah. That's crazy. With just one swap between the supports, like I actually like all these all pro teams. Like they actually all work really well.
I think they're good teams.
Now for the MVP, I think there's only one choice, and I think it's Smiley. That's my opinion.
I think it's really difficult. I think that Smiley obviously has a case.
I think that
I think Pro Delta might have a case.
Has made a good argument as of late. I think Curry has made a very good argument over the course of the split and has had massive highlights. But Smiley has just been like, he moved into the center of an already very well-rounded roster, absorbed all of the limelight and the resource, and wasted not a cent of it. Also became like 50% more naturalized Brazilian in the split, and has just like never failed to perform. Because like even Titan has had the off days, Dinkato has had the off days. Just like show me an actual Smiley off day from this split, and you know, I challenge anyone to find one. And if you ask them for the Smiley like pop-off games, like just look at every one of the 15 wins that Kadestar's put up. Like, does anyone who's contesting Smiley for MVP? I ask you.
Prods.
Support. Yeah, fair enough.
That's the problem, right? And that's the hard part, because
it's always tough to separate those two.
Right? Yeah, it's like same with Titan Curry, right? Like if we're talking about them as the best bot lane, who is it? Is it Titan or is it Curry who's better, right?
Yeah, so that's I think it's Smiley and Curry. I think those are the
personally
the elevated elements from both of those combos.
I know I'm gonna get flamed for that because Prods is like the crowd favorite as well, and I love Prods. Don't get me wrong. Like I screamed when Payne dropped him, but at the same time, I do think Smiley has been more impressive to me, partially because of the growth he had from last split.
Yeah,
and
like Pro Delta, like I say, I think Pro Delta would work in a lot more rosters than Curry would. I think Curry requires a specific scenario to be most effective. I think Pro Delta has shown playing with going from B-Voy to Titan. Like, bro, could we have more different, like, sorry, not Titan, it's actually playing with Titan, but like even from B-Voy to Smiley,
technically
is
very different style.
Is different, right? He's shown already a range there, and in terms of the pool, there's no issues with that. He's able to match Curry in terms of depth of style, in terms of what he can bring to a team and impact. Like, he's right up there. And it's maybe just the nature of this split and the way that chips have fallen that he's not had, in my opinion, quite as much like back-breaking impact as Curry has, but he is still, without question, top 2, if not top 1.
The other crazy thing to me for Smiley is that he's got 8 solo kills as an AD carry.
Smiley, the last
the
split.
next closest is 5 solo kills in the AD carry role, and generally speaking, solo kills go to top laners because they're on an island.
Yeah.
In the top 7 solo kills, it's all top laners.
Yeah.
The only non-top laner in the top 7
Smiley.
is Smiley. Yeah. And he's like technically third, tied with FNB.
Like,
yeah.
Yeah.
Like he's just absolutely nuts. So personally, I give it to Smalley, but I do think that bot lane as a whole
Is just
is
yeah.
But by the way, fun fact, you know who the second and third for AD carries and that solo kills, the 5, they're tied. Any guesses who those AD carries are?
5
Root.
solo kills out of bot lane.
Okay, who got Root from
I think
4-4?
Root and Root and Titan.
Okay.
Not gonna overthink it.
Ayu and Leandrin.
Trigo.
You're going to be shouted. In my head, I thought it was Titan and Ayu. It's Leandrin, Trajan. You called it right. And Natuno of all AD carries. That one shocked
And
me.
Leandrin had half a split.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Leandrin makes sense because Leandrin got hit their Draven multiple times.
Twice,
Yeah. So, like, I was not super surprised by Leandrin, but Natuno shocked me. Natuno.
Fair play.
Wow.
Still
Fair enough.
Okay, right.
Okay.
All right. I'm
So-
cool with Smiley.
Smiley. Huge. All caps. Absolutely deserved. Huge for Smiley. Big split. Right.
Yeah.
Somebody screenshot it to farm the fans once again, as we always do.
I have really crappy quality on my stream on my
Same.
so
Mine's
did you get
pixelated. Nope.
Oh, damn.
I can't even see the names, actually. I'm literally just going by memory from what yours.
Okay, I will screenshot it.
All right. Thank you, Trajan.
Thanks, Raven.
Okay, right. With that, that's going to wrap it up. Thank you very
All
much,
right.
gents.
Okay.
Thank you, everybody, for listening, as always. And it's just murdered the stream. So, you know, thank you, Gazo, for that one. But, as always, follow us on Twitter, on Twitch, on TikTok. Join the Discord. We will be kicking off playoffs in one day when Furia and Loud. Are they kicking us off? Furia Loud? Oh my word.
Yes, they are.
I hope it is. Wow, that's a banger. That is such a strong matchup to kick us off with. So do not miss that one, everybody. And then it's Red and Fluxo afterwards. And this could be the
free to
season that
skip
Loud
that one.
falls. Could it be the season that Red finally wins. Could it be the season that
Come and see where the turtle falls.
that Pain manages to disappoint everyone despite Loud losing. Who knows, man? There's a lot of ways this could go. Or the CL project could finally reach the top of the mountain. But thank you, everybody. And we will see you on the Twitch channel on the weekend.